Good evening, friends. I am Narinder Jit Kaur, a retired associate professor of English based in Patiala. I am a poet. I am a fiction and non-fiction writer, and I write in 3 languages, English, Hindi, and Punjabi. And you can say that my writing time and my writing activities are, spread in small segments of different genres and different languages. I am a translator as well. I have translated 5 books from Punjabi into English. I write articles for the newspapers, and my 6th book is a compilation of 58 articles that have been published in the newspapers. And my 7th book is a collection of short stories, The Icicle. And let me thank the fertile brains and Prasanna Kumar for giving me platform, not only today, but on so many occasions earlier also. My book, The Icicle, was launched by the Fertile Brains, and then I have been participating in different activities. And, poetry is very close to my heart. Ever since we were in school and college and university, reading poems have always fascinated me, because to find the meaning between the lines has been a challenge and a very interesting activity, because poetry doesn't say things very straightly as prose does. And when I was in MPhil, we had a paper on African American literature, the Harlem Renaissance, and then we studied a number of writers. My dissertation paper was on a novel, Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison, and we had a chance to read Toni Morrison, Alice Walker, Richard Wright, and many others. Now, reading about their predicament, the predicament and the condition of the marginalized people, made me understand how they feel. And, it has created in me an empathy for the marginalized people. Most of my poems are about people who are socially disadvantaged, whether it's racial discrimination or gender discrimination, or people who are victims of, say, terrorism or COVID, poor people, working class. So everything hits me. When it hits me, I write a poem. And I have written on Nirbhaya, I have written on Aruna Schonberg, I have written on Arushi Talwar, and recently I have written on the Bengal rape and murder. And, poetry gives me a chance to, create my own images. And, it is a very good exercise for me, because I have tried my hand at different genres. So when it comes to poetry, it makes me, say things, in very concise manner and yet powerful manner. And for that, I have to, select my vocabulary very carefully and see to it that how I can arrange that vocabulary into a sentence. Because sentences in poetry are different from sentences in a story or in prose. And so, not only this, poetry, I feel that poetry gives a chance to the writer, to the poet, to not to talk about his own emotions and reflections and, uh, thoughts. But the poet can become a voice of the voiceless people also. So I have written every type of poem, whether it's my personal experiences and my personal impressions about nature, love, relationships, loss, and loneliness. But I have written about uh, the people. The people have been, they have always been in my mind, in my thoughts. And, I've been, dabbling in different genres and different languages. So, I'm reminded of, I was reading a blog by Eric Shafak, the Turkish writer. So he talks about two types of people. One are the fox and one are the hedgehog. The fox indulges in so many different things about everything, and the hedgehog is focused on one thing. And she writes a beautiful sentence that the fox knows something about everything and hedgehog knows everything about something. So you can say that I am a fox indulging in so many activities. And now I have written many poems, but I have not published any anthology so far. I have a collection of huge number of poems. My first poem was published in a newspaper in 1998. And after that, my poems have been regularly being published in newspapers, in journals, in online magazines, and in different anthologies also. But maybe someday I will get my poems published in a book form. Now, the first poem is I Sit and Watch Out. I sit and watch out as the sun goes down, and in the amethyst twilight, sense subdues the senses when eyes and ears play truant and amnesia rules the roost. I strain my eyes and see 100,000 tiny hands from another time zone tapping on the window pane with a zillion questions lurking on their fingertips, exhorting me to take a stock of my life. What did I do for them? What legacy do I leave behind? I fumble, mumble, and stumble in my vague answers. A mundane existence had I. Opportunities passed by me, or I eluded them, waiting for the right moment to come my way to do something worthwhile. Yes, I scattered some words, hoping they take root, give the coming generations a soothing shade, if not fruit, to comfort directionless multitudes lost in the desert of obscurity. May my words lead them on to the righteous path of life. May my pen stimulate the sagging spirits to assiduous action. This was all I had in me. This was all I could do. Overcome by a serene fulfillment, I sit and watch out as the sun goes down, and in the amethyst twilight, senescence subdues the senses when eyes and ears play truant and amnesia rules the roost. The second poem is Dusk. At dusk, long back, in the game of hide and seek, my playful paws left me groping in the dark for some shadow, silhouetted in blind corners, rustling leaves, huffing breaths pushed me to catch them and bring them back to light. In the dusk of life, I, looking for my dear departed, harking on some echo from the word above, familiar figures forming in the clouds, a voice adored, whispering in the dead of night, wish I could catch them and bring them back to life. My third poem is Mystical Reflections. It's a journey from the worldly to the divine, from the materialistic to the spiritual. Through the window of the vision, a word perches itself on the eyelids. A Vanity Fair, farrago of facades, a masquerade of masked identities, enticing me with its tawdry wares, material, emotional, and ephemeral. Eyes come to the beat. The heart, an imprudent imp, hops from desire to desire, bruised, broken, and bleeding. The obstinate fool refuses to learn any lessons. The inward eye, a flight of fancy, leads me gently into an idyllic word, a word pure and pristine, the utopian land of my dreams, always in my thoughts, but still so far. The mermaid soul dives deep into the divine ocean, picking up pearls of spirituality. The acquiescent self embraces the deluge, yearning to merge with my master. Thank you. Next poem is on love, and its title is Wine of Love. Look not for love's genesis. It's an all-pervasive force, encompassing your being within and without. It serenades through the mournful melodies of the rustling foliage separated from its roots. It wafts through the dolorous dirge of unrequited love that the nightingale sings in the ambrosial hour. It mirrors itself in the whimpering infant, smiling in its sleep, reminiscing its love of the lives gone by. Love looks the other way when you seek it, taking you unaware with a chance glance, a touch, a nod of the head, a quivering voice, or a tear resting on the eyelid. It shakes you, it shocks you, stripping you of your identity. Your love aches in my heart since time immemorial. It swept me off my feet with passions untamed and ecstasy unnamed, scorched my whole being in smoldering desert of desire. Your mighty surge submerged me in a choke. A sea of emotions engulfed me, taking the very life out of me. It's your blood that runs in my mellow nerve ends, calcifying in the bone marrow. Each capillary carries your essence. Each breath smells of you. Let me take your skin and wrap it around my soul. Let people mistake me for you. Fermented for life in the wine of love, let me drink the cup in the purple twilight as a sundowner before the eyelids drop down, heavy with the weight of years, before I slip into the darkest valley. Thank you so much. Now, next poem is three stanza poem. And the three stanzas, they deal with one particular event. The first is about COVID. And second is when George Floyd, a Black man, died after US police pinned him to the ground. These events, these incidents took place, almost at the same time. Uh, there. And the third is in Kerala, a pregnant elephant died after consuming pineapple that was stuffed with crackers. I hope people have, heard these two news. It's a very small poem with very small stanzas and a question mark at the end of each stanza. The title of the poem is Life Matters. Miffed at a minute microcosm, humanity huddled in a hole, praying for propitious intervention, clutching close the bits and the whole. Life matters, isn't it? A soul stifled under the power knee, stirring nations to angry agitations, sending warnings loud and clear and voicing virulent protestations. Life matters. Yes, it does. The trusting tusker, a being benign, to humanity treasury, its life it laid. Life within life, God within goddess. No ranting regrets, no hands in prayer raised. Life matters, does it? Thank you. My next poem is about, shooting incidents in schools, killing innocent children who became victim of terrorism. And it's not limited to only one country or one faith. It's a global, tragedy that we come across every now and then. So the title of the poem is The Innocent Targets. Look at those innocent eyes, replete with infinite dreams, now forcibly shut at gunpoint. Stop those dreams from bleeding deep down in the graves. Why? Why these angels of God? Why these divine, harmless souls, with their heavenly purity intact, targeted? Here, there, everywhere, Kentucky, Kentucky, Florida, or Peshawar, near home. Those little promising feet had miles to go to scale the unscalable heights. Those little hands looking forward to shape their futures. Those eyes now in eternal sleep, once shone with the prospects of their sire's pride. If only I could wake them up, tell them it was just a joke played by insanity of an equally mad faith. Tell them to rise from their deep abodes and rush back to their parents' laps and go about the business of life as if nothing has happened. If only I could. Thank you. During COVID, it was not only the disease or it was not only the virus that became, a tragedy for us, for the whole world. But if we look at the scene in India, there were so many other things which came so suddenly and shook us all. And one was the predicament of the working class. those who had moved to the big cities for their employment. With the lockdown, they didn't have the money because they were daily wages. So they didn't have the money to pay the rents, they didn't have money for the rations. And then they decided to go back to their village homes. With no transport available, they decided to walk down so many miles. And what happened with them on the way, it was very hard to see and very hard to bear. And there had been so many stories of courage, so many stories of uh, you know bravery, and then so many stories which make you sad. There was a story of a little girl who carried his old father on a bicycle covering about 200 kilometers. There was a story of a woman who gave birth to a child on the roadside, and after 2 hours she started walking again. There was a story of few laborers who walked down who while walking down to their place, they were sleeping on the rail tracks and they were crushed under the tree. So these were the things that shook sensitive people like the poets, like the poet in me. And I wrote a poem in Hindi. And in those days, there was a refrain that was going on the national media while talking about this exodus of the working class, and that was "Mar jaane do, par ghar jaane do." So this is the title of my poem, "Mar jaane do, ya ghar jaane do." महानगर के सन्नाटे में से आसमां तक गूंजता मर्म भेदी अंतर्नाद, शाख से टूटे पत्तों की तरह सहमे चेहरे, पथरीली सड़कों पर भटकता ये अथाह जनसमूह फिर से छूना चाहता है उन कच्ची पगडंडियों को जहां नंगे पांव दौड़ते हुए कांटों की चुभन महसूस नहीं होती थी। आज लिपट के रोना चाहता है मिट्टी से पुती उन कच्ची दीवारों से जहां बचपन में माँ रोली से कोई माता की तस्वीर बनाया करती थी। न जाने क्या वजह थी वो, बूढ़े माँ बाप की दवा दारू की चिंता या अगली पीढ़ी के सुख जीवन की चाह जो खींच लाई घर से मीलों दूर इन इमारतों के जंगल में, जहां बस काम का ही दाम है, जीवन बेदाम है। बसों की ओर लपकता ये बदहवास हजूम व्याकुल है बस किसी तरह घर पहुंच जाने को। जानता है कि जड़ें कितनी भी बूढ़ी जर्जर हो जाएं, पेड़ के तने से पेड़ के तने के गिर्द लिपट कर उसे गिरने से अवश्य बचा। So this was about the people who suffered a lot. We people, we can say we suffered inside our homes, but they suffered outside on the roads. Now, here is a poem that I wrote recently after the Kolkata gang rape and murder of an intern doctor. I had written about Nirbhaya, and at that time it seemed that the global outrage that we witnessed will change the conditions, change the situations. But sadly, that has not to be. We had seen so many rapes, murders, and the things have not stopped. No laws, no stringent actions have been able to, bring about this change. Women are very unsafe in India. They They are unsafe in their schools, in their colleges, in their working places, and even in their inside their homes, their relatives, their near ones, their friends. Nobody can be trusted. And now I have taken, the reference of a childhood story that we used to read. And the title of my poem is The Damsel in Distress. Breathing in the rancid air, reeking of rape and gang rape, molestation and murder. The little girl in me seeks refuge and relief in the childhood stories of the damsel in distress, monster, and the knight in shining armor. So this was a very common story that we used to read, that the monster, kidnaps the girl, and then it's the knight in shining armor who comes and saves the girl from the clutches of the monster. So the little girl in me seeks refuge and relief in the childhood stories of the damsel in distress, monster, and the knight in shining armor that had fired my imagination once. From the rusted folds of memory, a different story, a different scenario stands out, mocking me. There is the damsel, sitting doubled up in a corner, mutilated and violated, her body battered, honor tattered, and dreams shattered. Where are the others? I ask her. The monster breaking out of the story prowls in every street, masquerading in multiple faces. And your knight in shining armor? Her voice chokes as she answers amid hiccups. He has simply chickened out. Thank you so much. And this is the scenario that we have. The girl doesn't have any savior. The boys in our society are not trained to be strong enough to come to the rescue of the girls. So what I feel is, when we talk of feminism, when we take the talk of the steps that are being taken to educate the girl, how she has to protect herself, how she has to fight these monsters. But we have never tried to see that our boys need to be educated about the women's rights. Because the women's rights, the women's honor is, violated by boys, by men. So they need to be educated, and they need to be educated about the law, the repercussions, that how law will punish them. But along with that, I would like to say that things are not that easy and that simple as we can say, as I am saying here. So let's hope that good sense prevails, and the boys, the men, they understand that they have not to be only monsters, but they have to be the knight in shining armors to rescue the girls. Thank you so much. I think that's enough. I think we have already, I have already covered half an hour. And back to Prasanna sir. Thank you so much.